You're listening to WXBR, the talk of Metro South, PM in the AM. Peter Zimbo here with you on this Wednesday morning. Joining us right now via the telephone is a man who's an iconic rock and roll star from the late 80s, early 90s, where he first accrued fame as a member of Skid Row. He is now touring and recording as a solo artist. His latest release, Give 'Em Hell, was released just last week. It's in stores now and available online for digital download. We welcome to the program Sebastian Bach. Sebastian, good morning. We've wanted to have you on the show for quite some time now.
How are you?
Nice
to talk to you.
We're doing fantastic, Sebastian. 30 years removed since the first time you released music. 3 decades later, how do you feel about the music scene? What has changed?
Um,
Do you still get the same excitement about releasing new records and hitting the road, or is it kind of the same old dog and pony show at this point?
No, I get very excited about it. I have the number one. My album is the number one top selling metal album on iTunes. Like as we're speaking right now, in 2014 on the chart on iTunes. If you go there, so I definitely get excited about it. I've been doing it all my life. And the reviews on the new record are across the board. Most of them say it's my best album, so that's always very nice to read. And I'm very lucky to be still making CDs when a lot of people are saying, CDs are barely even still here. I'm still making them, so that's cool.
2 interesting points you mentioned. Number one, congratulations on the fact that on the iTunes chart, you are the number one metal album of 2014 as we conduct this interview. The other is that you're still making CDs. The way in which people consume music has changed, but the fact that you bring up CDs makes me believe you're a guy that still likes to hold something in your hand, open up the CD, read the liner notes. You're still that kind of guy.
Well, I do, and also we've invented these, devices, these iPhones and stuff, that hold all of these albums. I don't think that anybody's not listening to albums. I have all of my CDs I ever bought in my life up in the cloud. Every time I get a new phone, my whole collection is like in my hand. When I get on a plane, I don't scroll through my phone and look for a single. I listen to like Rush Moving Pictures or Kiss Destroyer or Aerosmith Rocks. See what I just did there, Boston? Yeah.
Throw in the nice Aerosmith.
I think we all do. I think we all listen to albums. Maybe I'm totally wrong, but I can't see sitting down on a 6-hour plane flight saying, wow, I can't wait to get into this single. I can't wait to get into this EP. I don't get that. I like listening to records. I think that we all do. So I think that the reports of the CD demise are premature.
We're chatting with Sebastian Bach here in WXBR. Says the report of the CD demise have been premature and it's not the digital age just yet. Well, maybe folks are still listening to albums, but they're consuming the album via a digital download as opposed to a CD more often than not. Am I wrong?
Oh, no, you're right. But one thing I've learned in the last couple records I've done, is how tricky it is to get the actual art that we make to you, the fan. What I mean is, like, we spent a year and, over $100,000 making this album that when you're in the mastering studio on the last day, it sounds like Star Wars. But then, like, the night before the video premieres, I go look at the link, and it's like this tiny little file that's been emailed and uploaded and downloaded and podcasted and fish flied. I don't know all the words, but all of these things. And, like at 3 a.m, I have to call a bunch of people and say, this is not what I made. And you only get one shot to make a first impression, and it really makes a difference, like 96K to 320 or whatever. Most people just want it as quick as they can. I myself would rather have a bigger file that sounds better than just getting it instantaneously and having it sound worse. I think the whole object of music is something that you want to listen to. I don't want to listen to a stream. I want to listen to something close to what the artist actually made. I actually think that what Neil Young has invented, this Pono music player, which delivers studio quality files to in your pocket on the handheld device. I think that is the answer, and I will be the first one in line to buy that when it becomes available.
We're talking to Sebastian Bach here in WXBR, whose new album, Give 'Em Hell, is available now. Vinyl, CDs, MP3s that you download and listen to through an iPod. Which of the three current music mediums that are in existence do you think has the best sound quality, as you talked at length about the amount of time and money you put into making sure your albums sound as fantastic as possible?
Well, it's something as simple as, instead of an MP3 file, getting a big WAV file on your iPhone. Yes, it will take up more room, but the way I approve my record, my mastering guys send me WAV files. I put them on the phone. I throw out the little iPhone earbuds in the trash. I get a $100 pair of Sony Studio headphones. I put it on. I listen to the WAV file. It sounds really, really great. Most people don't want to put that memory storage in their phone, files that size. So I think CDs are the answer for now. The Pono music player, I think, is the next coolest thing. Albums are awesome, but I haven't listened to albums in so long. I started listening to albums again, and I forgot that you got to go walk over halfway through the record and change to side 2. So I walk around my house, and then you hear that of the needle hitting the center part. I'm like, oh yeah, you got to like walk over there and flip it over. But other than that, they're amazing. They're awesome.
Technology has just enabled us to be more lazy. You don't get up to change the channel anymore. You got a remote. You don't flip records anymore. You don't rewind anymore. You just skip ahead or just push a button and go to where you want to go in that particular stream.
Yeah. But the streams don't sound good. Streaming does not sound anything like a WAV file. And the first time anybody heard my song, the first single, Temptation, was on the Jay Moore podcast. I didn't know what a podcast was. I'm like, what is that? They're like, it's an interview. Just go do the interview. It's all good. I go, okay, I'm going to play my song. And then I find out it's like a stream. And so I texted Jay Moore. I go, hey, is there any way people can download this so they can hear like what the song actually sounds like? He goes, I have no idea. So it's like, good sound is the last on anybody's list, but it's the first thing on my list. So it's just, you got to be vigilant. You've got to be vigilant. Dave Grohl posted a meme on Twitter that said the biggest job of a musician is to say no. And I just have to walk around saying, no, I don't want an MP3. I don't want a stream. I want the best quality sound you can get to the fans.
We talk about the way in which music is consumed nowadays, but you bring up an interesting point in the way music is marketed nowadays. Back in the day, it was a big deal. MTV would promote for days ahead of time the world premiere of this video, the world premiere of this new song, and now MTV really doesn't play music as much as they used to. And on top of that, television isn't quite the medium that used to be. A lot of people are getting their entertainment via YouTube and the internet, so much so that the premiere of your latest single was on a podcast and not on traditional radio or on MTV.
Yeah, I know. Well, one thing that's really cool is that when you go buy a DVD player, Blu-ray player, it's got YouTube built into it, so you can watch it on your home theater system. And, as long as you got the 1080p, the highest resolution, it looks just like television. And so that's really cool. I mean, my last album, Kicking and Screaming, debuted like 67 on the top 200 Billboard chart, and that song, that video, has over 1 million plays on YouTube. So 1 million plays is 1 million plays. That's a lot of plays. So the internet's not all bad. It has an upside too.
And one of the upsides is that you get to directly interact with your fans at time via social media. You're very active on Twitter. Do you enjoy the social media?
I do. I absolutely do. When I grew up in the 70s as a little kid, little rock fan, the only thing we had was magazines and the albums and posters. There was nothing else. And it's hard to explain to people now. Like my world was Rock Scene magazine, Circus, Cream, those 3 magazines. And all we had was the music itself and 2-dimensional images of our heroes. We never heard Robert Plant do an interview, or we never knew what Ace Frehley talked like, or what Ozzy moved like. I can remember being a kid and staying up late because Kiss was on Don Kirshner's rock concert or something. And when they came on the TV, my mind was so blown because I had never seen how they moved around and how they walked, or how they even anything. And now it's that sense of mystery is gone. But people love music just as much as they always did. So it's just that we live in a fast-paced world, and it's just it's tough to keep up with all the technology that keeps coming our way.
Let's say Twitter existed circa 1989, the tail end of the hair metal, the partying, the Days of the Sunset Strip, tons of excess, woman, drugs, you name it. How much more trouble would some of these bands have been in had Twitter existed, where a lot of things they were doing that may have been spoken about were readily available to be seen?
Well, the term hair metal wasn't invented till like late 90s. There was no such word as hair metal. That did not exist until
well, let's just call it heavy metal then.
And no, that's what people call it now, but that was not a term when I was in Skid Row. That did not exist, hair metal. It's like a really goofy term. But anyways, I can remember when the internet started, like the mid-90s, I was like, what? It's like, you mean anybody can just go type whatever they want and then put up whatever picture they want, and then the rest of the world can see it? I was like, this is not going to be good.
I mean, if people had iPhones when you guys were on tour with Guns N' Roses, what could have got out there that no one knows about?
Well, lots of stuff, but one thing that I got to say that people just don't get, Tommy Lee went on his Twitter saying, the picture thing's got to stop. A guy like Tommy Lee or a guy like me, we can't go out in public without every single person wanting a picture for their Facebook page. And everybody just says just one. It's not just one. And I'm not complaining about it. Tommy Lee is not complaining about it. It's just that in the late 80s when we were on tour, nobody had cameras in their pocket. That was like a photographer would come and it would be a photo session, and it was like when you would go backstage, you would talk to people. You would hang out with them. You would meet people. It wasn't just a lineup of people saying, can I get a picture? Okay, bye. Can I get a picture? Can I buy? It just gets redundant after a while. You don't feel like going out in public because every single person has a smartphone and a camera, and a Facebook page, and that's a big difference. That's a real difference. When Tommy Lee says enough with the pictures and everybody gets mad at him, I completely understand what he's saying.
Has there ever been an instance where you've seen a picture of yourself pop up online where you really didn't know that your picture was being taken in that public setting at that moment, and you were a little bit angered or annoyed, or you just found the whole situation
All
to
the
be
time.
weird?
All the time. I can't go anywhere without people tweeting it in my Twitter feed. Like if I go to the Rainbow in LA, the second I walk in there, it's like Sebastian Bach at the Rainbow, Sebastian Bach at the Rainbow. So it's I don't drink anymore. And one thing I could say about the internet is it might help me from not drinking, because I had a slip up in Vegas last month, and I was by myself. I said, "F it, I'm going to have some wine." And of course, my girlfriend read it online. There's no hope for me.
Can't get away with anything.
I should just forget it. Like, there's no sneaking around having a drink behind somebody's back. It doesn't exist with the internet. There's no such thing as that. So, hey, I'm sober, and you can know that I'm not lying to you, because if I was drinking, it would be on Twitter.
So what does Sebastian Bach do at the Rainbow if he's not drinking?
He doesn't go to the Rainbow.
Okay. Okay. I wanted to know, since you mentioned you can't go to the Rainbow too much anymore. We're chatting with Sebastian.
I don't drink, so it's not easy for me to go places that I associate with drinking. That's pretty much AA 101 right there. I love the Rainbow. It's a great place to go, but it's not a place that I want to go and be sober at. Really.
It's really not a place where you can be sober at, having been there a few times myself. We're chatting with Sebastian Bach here on WXBR. The latest album is called Give 'Em Hell. Let's talk about this album a little bit. You've got a great lineup in your band, including John Five of Marilyn Manson and Rob Zombie fame, and also Duff McKagan, formerly of Guns N' Roses and Velvet Revolver. This is an excellent lineup of musicians you have playing along with you on this record.
Yes, I also have Steve Stevens from Billy Idol's band. So I'm quite the lucky vocalist to be able to have these players with me. I'm a huge fan of Duff and a great friend of Duff. And the one thing that it's fun that I get to do, I had Axl Rose on my album Angel Down sing 3 songs, and Duff's on 4 songs on Give 'Em Hell, and both Duff and Axl tell me that it's fun for them to play with me because they get to flex their heavy metal muscles. Duff plays the bass on these tunes, and this is a metal album. He also wrote a song called Harmony that has more of a punk edge, but Axl on the Angel Down record did a song called Stuck Inside that is pure metal to the core, and to hear him scream over a heavy metal song to me is glorious. Because Guns N' Roses is more maybe blues-based hard rock, but my scene is more traditional metal. So it's cool to hear Duff and Axl play metal.
Well, let's talk about that common friendship you have with Axl Rose and Duff McKagan. Guns N' Roses, one of the most iconic bands of all time. The original lineup has been at odds for many years. You're friends with Axl Rose, who's still in the band, the only original member still in Guns N' Roses. You're also friends with Duff McKagan, who plays on your most recent record. Duff McKagan and Axl Rose recently got together, and Duff played bass on a Guns N' Roses performance at the Revolver Golden Gods Award. Do you think that's the beginning of perhaps Guns N' Roses someday reuniting with the original Appetite for Destruction lineup?
Well, they just toured South America.
The original lineup, though. of Slash and Duff and all them. Is that something you think could be worked out, as you know Axl and Duff well?
Yeah, that's not my question to answer. I can't answer that for you. You'd have to ask them. I have no idea.
I just thought maybe you knew something since you were friends with both. I had to try. We're chatting with Sebastian Bach.
When you do interviews all day, every day, you learn that the less you say about other people, the better. So I don't know. I can't answer that for you.
Did you have to learn that the hard way at some point way back when?
Huh?
Did you have to learn that the hard way at some point way back when, where you said something where
I learn that every day. Every time I'm honest in an interview, a sentence will be taken out of context and end up as a headline on Blabbermouth. And
well, luckily these interviews air in their entirety, so we won't take your words out of context. We're chatting with Sebastian Bach here on WXBR. Sebastian, we're going to play out in a few moments to the new single Temptation off your album,
Cool.
Give 'Em Hell. You mentioned that this is a heavy metal album. You've always been the type of guy that very versatile in the type of metal you can tour with. We mentioned earlier that you toured with Guns N' Roses in the late 80s, early 90s. You also toured with Pantera at one point in the 90s, and you're talking about a bluesy rock band and a straight-up hardcore heavy metal band. What do you think it is about you that has allowed you the versatility to play with a wide range of musicians and tour with a wide range of bands over the years?
Well, I also toured with Guns N' Roses in 2010, 2008, 2006. Not just 20 years ago. I tour with them all the time. Just as many people come see us in 2010 as they did in '89. I don't know if people know that, but that's the truth. My voice is way bigger than rock music. I've headlined 4 Broadway shows. I'm on SpongeBob SquarePants. I'm on Robot Chicken. I'm on The Gilmore Girls.
I knew about Gilmore Girls. I did not know about SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah, I'm Triton in Triton's Revenge. I'm the lead. I'm Triton with Posh Spice as another voice.
Well, that's versatile.
I am all over cartoons. Johnny Bravo. I'm on that. My voice has a life of its own. You say, how can you tour with Pantera for Guns N' Roses? I've started 4 Broadway shows, so my voice just has a life of its own. I'm kind of like a support system for these pipes.
First and foremost,
I'm like a host.
First and foremost, you've always considered yourself a rock and roller, but it seems like in recent years you've been doing more and more Broadway and acting. Is that the direction you'd like to go into full-time eventually, or do you think you'll always find yourself back on the stage?
Rock and roll is my first love. I started singing when I was 8. I was the lead soprano in my church choir. So I was singing church music years before I ever sang rock and roll. So when I did Broadway, Jekyll and Hyde in 2000, it reminded me of being in the church, which I did when I was 9, 10. So maybe people have one idea of what Sebastian Bach is, but I have a voice that is very unique sounding. And I've always been like that since I was 8 years old.
It was revealed maybe a week or two ago that there was going to be a revamped version of Jesus Christ Superstar being done with a lot of rock and roll musicians, Johnny Rotten, and even some members of boy bands and stuff. What was your thoughts on that lineup, and is that something you'd be considered for? Because it seems like you'd fit right in with your Broadway and rock and roll experience.
They flew me out to try out for that play. I tried out for the role of Pilate, and I did not get it. But I was Jesus Christ in a touring production in 2002 across America for 6 months, 8 shows a week, never missed a show. So I'm very familiar with the production. Judas gets the best songs in that. Isn't it always the case? The devil always gets the coolest jams.
Well, Sebastian, I want to thank you so much for joining us here on the program this morning. We want to remind the listeners that the new album is available right now in stores and on iTunes. It's called Give 'Em Hell. The new single is Temptation. We're going to play out to Temptation. You want to introduce it for us?
Yes. Also, I just got to mention one more thing.
You
I
got
have
it, my
a
friend.
brand new ABC TV television series coming out starting on May 31st at 9 p.m. on ABC TV. It's called Sing Your Face Off. It's 8 episodes, and I get to sing my face off in the show. So get ready. That's coming this month on ABC TV.
What's
the
the
first
concept
single
of that
here we're going
show?
to play from Give 'Em Hell, Temptation with John Five on guitar, Duff McKagan on the bass, and me, Sebastian Bach on vocals. So turn it up. In stores now. Give 'Em Hell, Boston.
New album, new TV show, The Men Never Sleep. Sebastian Bach here on AM 1460 WXBR.
Thank you, dude.